need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me?
Wealth-Hoarder and ambivalence is violence. Your ambivalence is our violence. Your paralysis is homelessness. Your hoarding creates our impoverished life horror story. I have shared with descendants of wealth hoarders, land stealers, who know that something is wrong, who have that uncomfortable feeling but have been lied to for way too long. Your paralysis is our violence as you sit and consider more of Mama Earth is bought and sold by Twitter. These are quiet conversations, don't include banksters and philanthropist givers. With so much hoarded money, sometimes they don't even remember. With legacies of enslavement, exploitation, and colonial terror. So what to do? Deeply overstand and understand that stealing, developing, leeching Mama Earth must end. These silent thieves can't get away with this unholy war. They can't trade her, steal her, fix her, sell her like she was an old car. Can't keep watching us poor unhoused folks swept like we dirt on the floor. Your paralysis is killing us. Please, listen up. Today's podcast for a poverty scholar is actually just some medicine for Mama Earth and all of us. Some medicine on the violence of ambivalence, the violence of land theft, resource theft, and paralysis. Yeah, this is a request for ideas. I'm thinking about a philanthropy strategy. Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world, just said before he gave $98.5 million away, which seemed like so much to us poor people. But come to find out, is a mere fraction of his extreme hoarded blood-stained dollars. I want to help cure all the diseases in our children's lifetime, said Mark Zuckerberg, while slapping his name on a new shiny Starbucks-like facade under the front of a poor people hospital that still charges poor youth of color for teeth extraction and barely has a seat when you're waiting for hours and hours. I'm a conscious billionaire, and I give a lot of my money away. Unknown global billionaire. Billion with a B. Yeah, there are so many wrongnesses with all of these statements, but the first one and the worst one is that there even are so many people who have all that effing money in the first damn place. Can you feel me? And if you don't agree, here's my diagnoses. They have undiagnosed hoarder cluttering disease. Otherwise, why do they have 4 to 10 luxury cars when they only need one to drive in? Why do they have 3 homes and 4 condominiums when they only need one to live in? And please don't tell me, oh, they just have good luck because they worked hard. Nah. All the poor people, families, and folks I know, houseless and unhoused and holding on by a thread housed, work every day. Sometimes 3 and 4 jobs like me and Mama did in micro businesses selling on the street when I was growing up and still can't afford rent and bills. Some of us work just to survive. The pain and trauma in our heads and hearts from toxic white supremacy, ableism, gentrification, and homelessness. And many of us do both. But one of the main lies here is that no one critiques, criminalizes, pathologizes, or even questions the actual accumulation, hoarding, stealing, exploiting of the wealth hoarders themselves. While as houseless and poor folks are criminalized, called names, evicted and swept or displaced for the act of hoarding, cluttering things like socks or bags of clothes or stacks of papers. These hoarder clutter sufferers continue to hoard more and more, rooted in the corporate exploitation of Mama Earth, that horror. Indigenous upon poor people's backs, lives and land. Is Zuckerberg a healer? A scientist, a doctor, or even an innovator just because he launched FaceCrack? Is Jeff Bezos a caregiver, a therapist, a teacher, or any kind of expert because he successfully accumulated billions of blood-stained dollars? And how about the Waltons and the Gates? Yeah, these are all people who have had endless wealth and race privilege in this occupied land. They had access to even go to a school like Harvard or Stanford, even if they did drop out, because they were housed as children and fed and not policed, terrorized and profiled, and their families and friends knew people that knew more people and had more stolen wealth, and on and on. The capitalist cycle repeats itself. Why is anyone thanking them for these meager crumbs? They need hoarder clutter buried alive staff to come in with a series of trucks and move that stolen wealth out of their multiple offshore bank accounts and homes. But I'm not just talking about conspicuous consumptors like those arrogant tech bros. I'm talking about the silent violence of trust funders and wealth inheritors, and even the middle-class, comfortable peoples living on this occupied, stolen, lied-to land. People who have been lied to for years about hoarding and hiding, keeping and succeeding, and the associated confusion of consumption, capitalism, and toxic wealth hoarding, so that they literally are paralyzed into inaction, even if they have the resources to redistribute. Seeing with their own eyes the violence, exploitation, terrorism, abuse, and murder of their ancestors, and yet unable to activate emergency community reparations, unable to operate in the states of emergency that we live in right now, where people are dying on the street. Yeah, so this podcast from a poverty scholar today is trying to give you a little medicine so you don't keep staying away. From the person who won't give $1 to an unhoused person because they don't know what they're going to do with it, to the wealth hoarder who would rather give to huge corporate non-profiteers and philanthropist admin heavy organizations in times of crisis because they don't trust us poor folks on the ground, us caregivers and service providers. These issues, this anxiety, this dangerous paralysis is all rooted in the lies you've been told about poor folks, about resources, and about the ability to accumulate wealth and land, about how much you need to feel safe, and about safety itself. The success in this occupied indigenous territory is valued by how much of Mama Earth you have stolen, made, and kept, about the shame you should feel if you haven't made it, and how people who have more are implicitly considered smarter, better, keener, safer, or more strategic. These wealth hoarding and poverty shaming concepts are also related and entwined with the separation nation I teach on a lot. The ways that we are separated as families, as communities, as peoples to be better consumers, capitalists, workers, producers, exploiters, bosses, hoarders. But what really is happening is we're all being used without knowing it. As we leave our communities to go to better schools, better jobs, better markets, we're also leaving our cultures and deep structures and actual safe spaces, and then we're forced by default, whether we like it or not, to purchase things, land, and love. We are collectively told and sold the only way to make it is to hoard and hide and never tell the truth. We are encouraged to fly to places we aren't from and save poor people there. And in so doing, we displace and do harm to the cultures and communities already there. Yeah, colonial lies aren't done. They are just repackaged in a 21st century success model. So this is a little medicine for Mama Earth and all of us. When a houseless person asks you for $1 to sell a street newspaper, if you have the dollar, or 20 cents or 50 cents or $5, just give it to them. Not a sandwich, unless they ask for a sandwich. And guess what? Yeah, they might be using it for drugs. So what? Do you question what Bezos and Gates and your boss or your scam lord does with the money they make? Similarly, wealth hoarders, Mama Earth owners, trust funders, inheritors, let your first mind, your heart mind, if you will, guide you in your radical redistribution of the resources you have. It is not your place to overthink, to question. The only question you need to ask yourself is what you need for you and your family to survive and thrive, which really always has less to do about dollars and more to do about straight-up accounting and real community love. And for the stupidly rich, please consider that just because you have hoarded all those blood-stained dollars and stolen land, that doesn't make you any better at figuring out where it should go and what should happen to that land. And actually, you should go check and ask poverty indigenous scholars who've had to struggle our entire lives for mere survival, whose lands and lives were long ago stolen, and whose everyday struggle to survive on $1 is a constant. And lastly, please carry that giving spirit throughout the year. We houseless and poor folks don't stop living, needing, struggling, being swept after the colonizer holidays are over. Yeah, politics to protected and wealth hoarder promoted scarcity models are also a lie. That there isn't enough for everyone, enough space, enough dollars, enough health care, enough service. There's plenty. We just need to stop believing in the lies we've been shoved down our throats for 527 years. And what there is plenty of is psychotic greed, dangerous denial, and extreme speculating of Mama Earth. Privately, quote, owned and so-called public property, long ago stolen and colonized, is continually hoarded while people die right next to it on the street. Last week, a Ruthless Radio was reporting being swept right here in deep East Oakland, as they constantly do all across the Bay and beyond, right next to a huge empty lot, gated and fenced so that the speculero could raise the money, raise the property values. Right here on Black Arthur, where Homefulness is, which is an intentionally blighted poor people of color community, where we're working so hard to finish a project called Homefulness. That's a homeless people solution to homelessness. There are over 26 empty lots, while the developers, speculators, and real estate snakes lay in wait like the murderous vultures they are, refusing to sell, inhabit, or house anyone. Meanwhile, the deadly arch appeared at the mouth of Black Arthur. We know that, what that always means. The colonizers are coming. While people all over West, North, and East Oakland are threatened and evicted and made homeless. The 100 low-income black and brown and poor elders facing eviction out of their elder home on San Pablo, and more units down the street. So yeah, there are some powerful folks with race and class privilege who've learned and loved and taught and separated and reintegrated, thanks to the poverty scholars at People School, thanks to the Poverty Scholarship book, and thanks to all of them and their hearts and their ancestors, and launched, along with us poor people, the Bank of Community Reparations. And as we speak, as this podcast is being recorded, we are currently working really hard to unsell, ungate, and unspeculate more of Mama Earth all over the Bay for a homefulness 2, 3, and beyond. Homefulness the world, people. But the first fact and the worst fact they don't want anyone to believe in capitalism is there is enough for everyone all the time. And to clear up that trail of tears and lies, we have to collectively walk and live a different life. Because they paralyze us all into more lies and more hurt, while elders and babies are while evictions are on the rise, and cities from San Francisco to LA continue to activate this violence, while more and more of us continue to die. Y'all need to stop the violence called being paralyzed.